Hey guys, welcome. Got another one of my wonderful guest speakers hopping on. We're going to do the interview with Sarah today. So we're going to see what kind of insight she brings to these really fun questions. So there's just a few secs while we figure out the technical section and she jumps on the call. It's very exciting, this section. It's like watch Sam wait online. And we have Sarah jumped on watching. Let's get you on this call. Okay. There we go. It's working.
Hi.
It worked. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so good, and I can't wait for this interview. We've been bouncing around this for a little while and had a few interesting,
It's been a
energetic
while.
experiences.
Yeah, that's it had to be in divine timing, as it turned out.
It surely did, and turns out that divine timing is today. So
Yeah.
let's see what. You look nervous.
I am a little bit because I've just been waiting for so long.
Well, let's start with some easy questions, okay?
Cool.
So
All right.
tell me, who is Sarah? Who is this?
Sarah is the person that you're watching right now. A lot of you might not actually know me. All right. So, what am I? I'm a human, essentially, like everyone. Sam, stop laughing at me. Sorry, we've been playing a lot of games. So what do I do here? I work in the natural health industry, and I have been for the last 16 years. I have trained as a remedial massage therapist, and I offer something called intuitive remedial massage, which is a mixture of remedial and all sorts of different massage with a very unique trigger point and lymphatic technique, also with energetic work, and many, many other things in between. I'm also a nutritionist, and I offer wellness and soul coaching. My passion is a lot more of the energetics, and I do earth work, and I take people on incredible activations and journeys. I might leave that one with that.
Yeah. So with all of that you do and all the experience and diversity in that, what is this wonderful Sarah woman? What's she really about?
What am I about? The main thing I'm about is actually connection. So I help people connect to their bodies. I help people connect to the earth. I help people connect into their ancestry, both on this planet and also out of this planet. Don't always advertise it that way, but
that's okay.
This is going to be a weird interview.
So I was going to say there's a reason that I invited you to be one of the guest speakers at the January event, which is a little bit about our awakening conversation and figuring out who we are inside of that. And it is really earthbound and connected to our families and our ancestors, but it's also really connected to our cosmic self and that larger multi-dimensional story. And there's a lot you have to share on that. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I've been going through my own journey, obviously, for a really long time, and I've been helping people on theirs. And I didn't necessarily have a mentor throughout mine. It would have helped. But I am quite own experience. So I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I definitely chose to learn from direct experience. And I help people go through theirs with a lot more ease and grace, as opposed to how I went through it, which a lot of the
their
time
awakening
felt like,
is what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the time it did feel like I was strapped to the back of a truck going 300 kilometers an hour, but I'm still here, and I have learned to be more graceful with myself.
I have no idea what you mean.
And I help people to help them to be less stubborn with themselves, because it doesn't actually have to be a hard experience.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's something in your world that's pretty awesome right now?
Something in my world that's pretty awesome right now is, after quite a while, because I massage quite a lot and I do a lot of body work, and I'm actually stepping back from that just a little bit, still doing it, but pulling back a little bit. And I'm focusing more on my online courses. I'm offering a 3-month intensive mentorship, and doing a lot more distance work. And I'm also stepping into more of a creation period of my life, where I'm focusing on the creation of more of my products and creating all sorts of things, which I'm sure you will hear about soon.
Sounds super interesting and intriguing. So before we dive into the interview, one final quick preliminary foreplay question, which is where do we find out more about Sarah? Do we stalk you? Do we how do we do this?
You can stalk me if you want. I don't know how interesting that is, but if that's how you want to spend your time, go for it. You can message me. You can go to my website. It's just getting a bit revamped at the moment, so you can just message me on here. I'm on Instagram a lot more because it's just a bit more fun and colourful. Sorry, Facebook. And yeah, through those means.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for that. Now, ready for the questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
Six with Sam. Okay. So in life, we have this experience or illusion, if you will, of free will. So you're going to get to choose a question, and then we see where we go next, right?
Sure.
The first one is truth or dare.
I'm going to go with truth.
Okay. What's something true about you that you don't normally share?
What's something truth about me that I don't normally share? There's so many ways it could go, so I'm just trying to think. I spend a lot of my time by myself and with my family, but mostly communicating with trees and beings and things that people don't necessarily see. So I have one foot here and one foot in other realities. And I do that for work, but I also do that in my everyday life.
For fun.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. So my question that kind of goes with that is, would you recommend it?
I would actually, because it helps you to have a bigger perspective of what's happening in the world, and it helps you to not take it all so seriously. It helps you to find a deeper connection with yourself, and it reminds you that this place is actually an illusion. And I'm constantly reminded of that, and realizing and remembering that it's all a big cosmic joke. I've spent a lot of time, sorry, any family members who are watching this, spent a lot of time with family over the Christmas holidays, and I was very much reminded of how real and dramatic and intense everything can be felt, because there is the illusion that it is the only real thing, that we only have 5 senses, that we are just this. But it's one of the funniest things about the universe that I've seen so far, that we get so trapped in this illusion of separation. Sorry, any family members, I didn't say anything specific.
No, it's all good. I think they'll be fine.
I think so.
Yeah. Cool. Next question, number 2, we've got health, wealth, or happiness.
Health.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever done to improve your health?
What's the weirdest thing? Wow, after last year. It's kind of extension of this question, but it's probably the weirdest thing that I experienced. So I'm a nutritionist, so I spent a lot of years, and I've spent my entire life obsessed with health, obsessed with food, obsessed with how it all works with my body, obsessed with, you know, getting in trouble in high school for bringing chlorophyll in water, and, you know, teachers going
Such
off
a
at
rebel.
me and me having to educate my teachers. Yeah, such a rebel. No, I actually got into detention quite a lot because of that stuff. Anyway, so I've always been really health. And then as I started to kind of wake up and within myself and remember a little bit more and actually communicate with my body, and I started to eating different things, became really obsessed with like clouded apple juice whenever I was going through massive ascension processes, because if you actually look at what cloudy apple juice is, it's full of vitamin A, which transmutes light. So I found that quite interesting. So I had to push aside what I felt was right from what my head told me was right from what I had learnt, and actually start listening to what my body wanted. But the weirdest thing I actually had to go through with my health was actually when I got pregnant, where I had to literally do whatever my body wanted, because that was the reality of it. If I didn't do what my body wanted, I would just vomit. And anyone who's been pregnant or had any experience with this, where your body just takes over, you have to go with what your body wants, regardless of anything else. So I was vomiting for like 6 times a day, couldn't eat for like 4 or 5 months, and it was pretty full on, and I had to really listen to what my body actually wanted, not what my head thought that I wanted or needed. And so I went from a lifestyle of eating greens to literally, if I even thought of anything green, I would vomit. It was that intense. Even the idea of that being entering my body, I would vomit straight away. And it was a really massive learning curve, because all I could actually keep down was 2-minute noodles, Snickers bars, French fries, anything that couldn't, and this is the conclusion I had to come to, anything that didn't hold its own frequency, I could eat. Anything that held a frequency, I couldn't eat. So that was probably, from my perspective, the weirdest experience for me. Anyway.
Now, would you recommend it? Would you recommend it?
I would recommend listening to your body over anything else. Yep. And yeah, the other thing is I could only keep certain things down when I sat on the roots of a peach tree that was in my house at that time. So I had to actually use the roots of the tree to anchor myself into the ground so the food could actually stay in my system. And I had to stay there for a period of time, and then my body would say, okay, you can go now. So that was really fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to, possibly.
Possibly. No, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Cool. Good to know. Next question is, we start to shift out to what's going on in the world. So the question is, sex, drugs, or rock and roll?
Rock and roll. Definitely.
Awesome.
This one hasn't been done yet, has it?
No one's volunteered this one.
Awesome.
So music is often the soundtrack of our lives. It doesn't have to be just obviously rock and roll. But how do you think music has changed in the world? Is music getting better or worse?
I think music is following the trend of the collective consciousness, where it's going more into duality, but at the same time, it's all the same field. So a lot of music, I feel, is being used subliminally to influence the masses, and you can get caught up in that story. But at the same time, you have some of the most incredible artists making some of the most incredible music that is transforming people's lives. And I'm a firm believer that the things that will save us all, if you want to look at it that way, is art and music. So music has the ability to cut through the illusion and the mind without even you having to think about it. It goes straight to the soul. And I feel like music is the biggest translator of universal language, of code, of connection between everything. So when we're talking about the direction that it's going, yes, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't necessarily in our best interest right now if you're coming to it from a sovereign perspective. But sometimes people kind of want to feel a little bit more unsovereign to remember their sovereignty. So I think it's all playing its part really well. But some of the artists that are coming forward are just, they're just light beings and cosmic beings in a human body. It's unbelievable to see. So yeah, I listen to a lot of different music because my partner Nick, well, we're musicians, we play music, and he comes from a very strong music background, with music journalism and everything like that. And so I'm constantly around music, and it's literally the thing that makes it, can cut through anything to take you to a specific time and place, which goes beyond all programming of reality. So I don't think that it's going in a negative way in any respect. I feel like to have, you know, literally the blossoming of flowers through shit is kind of where we're at the moment as well. There is a lot of stuff that is highly programmed, but at the same time, if you look at anything, and the fact that anyone can make music at home now, and there's a lot more yes and no sovereignty with musicians making their own music and being able to publish it themselves and everything. We're having access to some of the most incredible young musicians who are making beats and music at home every single day and being able to broadcast it out and like cut through all of the middlemen and all the shit that happens in between.
Removing some of the hierarchy, kind of.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's your favorite kind of music?
I don't really have, well, I mean, if I really look at it, like at home, Nick kind of dominates the music, so we listen to a lot of, and my son dominates the music, so there's a lot of Beatles played in my house. It also depends on what phase Nick is in, so we've just gone through another Beach Boys phase, so we've listened to a lot of Beach Boys, obviously watching a lot of documentaries as well. And yeah, I like a lot of very strong female artists. So my favorite artist when I was growing up was Bjork, and then I hit a very, very big period of just listening to Bat for Lashes. It's an amazing artist. I highly recommend everyone listen to her. I actually tend to go towards really strong female artists unless Nick is influencing the playlist.
It's not a surprise. So if in every moment a person has a theme song, what would you say is the theme song of your life right now?
The theme song of my life right now, so I tend to listen to songs on repeat until Nick can't handle it anymore, and he's like, just, you need to stop. I feel like some of my Childish Gambino is actually the song that I'm listening to right now, because it's summer and it's fun, and I love his voice, I love his acting, I love everything about him as a person, and I'm just really in that summer feel right now. So everything's really light and everything's really happy.
Would you like
peaceful.
To sing a few bars for us?
Absolutely not. But I will definitely put a link underneath. No, I'm not singing on here. I only sing with reverb. You wanted that question? No, I need reverb. That makes me feel much more comfortable. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Challenge.
Maybe another time.
Anyway,
Yeah.
another time.
Hmm.
Cool. So we'll move on to the next question.
Sure.
We move a little bit back to sort of you and how you see yourself. And this one is around love or fear.
I'll go with love.
What part of you has been the hardest to love?
What part of me has been the hardest to love? Probably my mind.
Mm.
Actually, definitely my mind.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like most people, you go through that period where, you know, you realize and you're told that you have this ego, and then you hate the ego, and then you have to make love to your ego, and you've got to love every part of it, and then you've got to step back and have equilibrium and balance between
And the
the
fucker's
two.
still a fucker.
And that fucker is still a fucker. But then you have to appreciate it, and then you have to respect it, and then you got to love it again, and then you got to not kill it, and that's definitely something that has shown me the most of how this whole place works, which has helped me to respect it so much. But I don't think that the mind is just the ego either. I think there's some many elements to the mind, which I'm continuously learning about and evolving my perspective of it. So I learned a lot about that when I did Vipassana for the first time, and I have done that a couple of times. And that helped me to really get out of just being in the stream of consciousness and pull out of that. I see it like a big tube, and kind of like detach myself from it and just go, oh wow, okay, that's happening, but it's actually not part of me. Okay, what's happening here? And then I remember after the first one, I got home and everything was starting to integrate back in, which was actually really hard, which no one really tells you how hard it is until you're going through it and you think you're going nuts. But anyway, that's why integration is really important. So thank you, Sam, for putting this event on, because it is a very strong theme within it. And I remember being so, because I was very science-based, especially when I was growing up. I've been looking at pictures of bodies and learning about the body and the world and geography and everything. Like I started looking at pictures of bodies when I was like 6 years old, and I have been looking at them ever since. And so I was very mind-driven. And I remember after I got back from the first Vipassana, and I remember trying to get to sleep, and I couldn't get to sleep. You know, I was feeling really anxious, and the hours just kept ticking over, and I couldn't get to sleep, and then this thought came into my head, and then I had a realization within me that said, hey, I don't have to listen to you. And this separation happened, and I really felt very whole for the first time of like, hey, I don't have to waste my energy and time processing this thought that's coming in. You're just going to bounce off back into the ether. And I had this moment of like, holy shit, I'm not my thoughts. And it really just changed the whole game with the mind. And then it's been a practice of allowing that like catch when you're thinking and then allow it to go. So after that moment, I actually didn't have any more anxiety. I used to not be able to sleep. At that time, I was working 4 or 5 jobs plus studying full time. I was spent. I was like so tired. I was so exhausted, and I was so anxious that my body literally didn't have the mechanisms within it to actually fall asleep. And it was kind of that moment where I just went, oh. And then I started actually conserving my energy, which also spread into my work, especially massaging and working with other people. I don't have to actually use my energy and use my internal energy to work with these people. I'm actually channeling something else. I'm part of something bigger here. And that's when everything really started to fall into more alignment with looking after myself in this jobs.
Awesome. So one of the kind of follow-up ones around that was, so how would you go about helping yourself to love the mind? But when you went so much into Vipassana, I think that was an awesome kind of response and the clarity around thoughts and stuff. So you kind of already answered my extra question. So
Who would have thought?
final stretch, we're going to come to the last couple of big questions. And the
Yep.
number 5 is life or death?
I'm going to go with death.
Awesome.
I could have gone either way.
I know, sometimes it can go either way.
Yeah.
Apart from the people in your life, is there any idea, principle, or cause that you would be willing to die for?
Yeah, the earth.
Yeah.
Just straight out.
Yeah.
Even possibly more than some other people, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I came here for the earth. I came here for my relationship with the earth. I came here to coexist and co-create with this earth. So, yeah, I would die for the earth.
So what's so important about that for other people to understand?
A lot of the time people... Can you extend on that question?
Yeah. So this is the idea or the cause that is so important for you. If someone else is trying to understand that, and why is that so huge for you? Can you just tell us a bit more about it?
I spent a lot of time off with the fairies, as we do, especially being highly empathic. It's quite hard to be here. It's quite hard to feel everything. It's quite hard to feel the intensity of joy and love, but also the intensities of pain and fear. So I spent a lot of my time off with the fairies, occupied with other things, obviously indulging in study and learning and learning and learning. And I really, hang on, there's a segue here. I can feel it. So I spent a lot of time avoiding pain. I spent a lot of time avoiding my own shadows and focusing on other people's shadows, because I'm a practitioner, and that's what a lot of us do, because that's what we're trained to do. But a lot of the time, what we're helping others with, we're helping ourselves as well, because everything outside of yourself is a reflection of yourself. And so I spent a lot of time avoiding being connected to the earth, and I spent a lot of time with light beings and other races and a lot of the new agey stuff. Going into 5th dimension, 7th dimension, 9th dimension, blah, 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 and creating an ego within that paradigm and reality as well, which is a kind of a lot of what we see in that forum at the moment. It gives people a sense of purpose and sense of security and belonging in somewhere. So
yeah, and it doesn't hurt that it's a little bit superior to where we are currently. So
yeah, absolutely, which is a crock of shit.
I know.
Because they're a lot of the time, and I went through it too. That's how I can kind of see what's happening. It made me feel very, not necessarily superior, because whenever I would feel that, I would say in my head, there needs to be a humbleness, there needs to be a humbleness. And so I was trying to juggle, like, well, how I know all this stuff about myself, but then how do I be humble about that? And how do I genuinely, well, it's kind of, that's in a very extreme of separation. So as I started connecting back with my body and back with the earth, and like I've been doing yoga since I was 12, like learning how to be present, learning how to be in the body, going through my steps to be more here, and then starting to work with the earth on such a different and deeper level, which is continuously growing and evolving. I started to really start to comprehend why we're all here and what we're all doing. And I was explaining this a little bit with a client yesterday, and I had Lego pieces because my kid was next to me, so I helped me to explain this. But like, if you can imagine like just a big motherboard, like a big board, and you're this amazing person that's kind of floating around over the top of it. You're never really, and you've got all this wisdom coming through, and you've got all this stuff coming in, and oh wow, and I can see this, and I can see this color, and I can do this, and I can do that. But if you're not actually connected to the motherboard, if you're not actually connected to your feet, that wisdom's not going to come through. And then as it comes through and binds with the earth, you're actually connecting into everything that you've experienced with this earth before and after this moment as well, which is extraordinarily amazing, because and that information is so much more, like, it's so much more awesome than the stuff that's floating around the ether, because that's so distorted right now, and a lot of people don't realize that when they're starting to come into it. There is so much distortion within the ether and the mind field and everything like that, and the collective consciousness, especially around what it is to awaken and what it is to be present. If you're not actually in your feet and you've got your feet on the ground, you're not actually going to tap into your wisdom here, which is everything, but it has to be felt here. And so as my relationship with the earth keeps growing and keeps growing, I'm able to be present and translate these really weird things with what we have on this earth, which helps people to realize that they're not separate from it. And it's something that is going to continuously evolve. So the whole point is you want to be here, but you want to stretch to the stars. You're not flying off like a fairy. Fairies are amazing. They're here too. But you want to have your feet on the ground and stretch up, because it actually helps you to feel more, to be more, to actually experience a lot more, and create that connection through the space between space, which is literally connecting everything together.
I cannot wait till we cover this in more depth during the training. And I'll just add, because I love that answer. I have that experience with my feet too. When I walk on the ground, I can feel all the pasts and all the futures, and
it's incredible.
Final one to final one to end it. What is the meaning of life? It's not even a multiple choice.
What is the meaning of life? I think it changes for every single person. And I think it's very tied up with people's missions as well, and their perception of that at any given moment. I spent years and years and years constantly asking, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And I was expecting this really complex response, and I was expecting this, you are the blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah. But when it actually came down to it, I was here to literally just be love. And I feel like that is my meaning to life, is to be love. But I think we're all here just to, well, not just, I think we're all here to experience this world. We're all our own, we're as big as the earth wherever we're from. We are literally galaxies. But here we're having a co-creative experience in a field that is literally unconditional love, which a lot of people, we don't know what that means, and we're experiencing it every day, but we still have no idea what it means to be in a field of unconditional love. And it's constantly distorted with our own perceptions and our own realities. We're all extraordinarily powerful creator beings with an extraordinarily powerful creator being trying to unify in a universe that has developed so much duality. And I feel like this world is such a big playing field to help us remember that we are all unified.
Find our way back to being safe inside of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is the end of the interview. You go
I
sit
could
down
keep
and
going.
smoke a mapacho. I can tell. I can tell you could keep going. This has
I
been
can
awesome.
I can talk
And
a
it's like
lot.
we've barely touched the surface.
Yeah, we could talk a lot.
Yeah. I think we'd have some really wonderful conversations. Little flies on the walls would get all kinds of insights.
Yeah. I think it would get quite fun. Well, thank you for the interview. It was actually really fun. I was looking forward to it. I
Thanks
was
for
a bit
jumping
nervous at the
on.
start, but it's like, whoo, of
Dropped
course.
in, all just flowed. Yeah, it's been awesome.
It all just flows.
Yeah. And you actually you challenged me to do my own interview process.
Yeah, so next time it's you. You're not going to be able to
I
hide behind the
don't know
counter at the
about
back
this.
anymore. No, it's happening.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll figure out a
gonna...
time and a date for that. I'll share all my secret questions with
Absolutely.
you, and we'll make that happen. Awesome.
I think it'll be
Awesome.
really inspiring. Like, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable or anything, but you're an awesome person, and I really feel like everyone needs to see more of that. So I want to interview you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. That will be really fun. It'll be cool.
Awesome. Great.
Okay. Thanks for joining me, and
Thank you.
talk soon.
Yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
See you in Byron as well. 2 weeks.
Yes, I'll see you then. Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching.